and welcome back for another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these really fun notebook covers just in time for back to school. These are really fun. We have pockets on the front, and this is going to help keep your notebook nice and protected, and also add some more functionality with this little slip pocket here to be able to put extra notes and things. And then on the front with the different pockets, you can put your pens and pencils, maybe a little notebook. In this one, I have a spot for my calculator and a pen and pencil. So these are going to be super easy and quick to make up, and they're going to add some personality to your stationery, and I just love them. So we're going to be working on this today. So we're going to be sewing this on my Janome Memory Craft 6700P. So for more information on this project, I will have a link in the description box, so you can go over to janomecanada.ca and you can check out all of the other fun projects that Janome has to offer. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so here's a closer look of the book cover. As you can see, I have 3 pockets, one for my calculator, one for a pencil, one for a pen. So you can customize these pockets depending on what you plan to store on your notebook. On the inside, there's also, you'll have this flap here where you can tuck notes and things as well. And same with on the back. Here is the back. So this project is going to be made with one of these composition notebooks. This is a fairly common composition notebook. I grabbed this over at the dollar store, but they also sell them at Walmart and Target. So hopefully you'll be able to get your hands on one of these. If not, we're gonna go through the measurements and how to make your custom book cover. The measurements will be for this specific book. So this one measures 7.5 by 9 5/8 tall, and when you open it up, it measures 15 inches. So I just lay it flat and then I measure from here to here. Now I'm going to give it a 1/2 inch seam allowance on all sides, so that measurement of 15 inches is then going to be 16 inches. So every time you measure a portion, you just add on that 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I will have the measurements for this over at the blog post. I will link that in the description box below. But super simple, super easy. You're gonna have lots of fun picking out the different fabrics. I'm using a quilt cotton. So let's go over the fabric quickly. So for this design, I am choosing to do 3 fabrics. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 4. It's up to you what you want to do. I have this fun shark quilt cotton. I have this, it's a fun little comic book style with the words, and then I thought the tie-dye fabric would look really good with the sharks because it kind of gives that, you know, watery vibe to it. So we're gonna create the cover out of these 2 fabrics. Then we're going to create the interior pockets, those slip pockets for the book cover with this fabric. And then the pocket on the front is also gonna be made out of that fabric. And then this is going to be the lining of our little notebook. So super easy. Like I said, I'm using quilt cotton, but I also want to beef up my quilt cotton because it is a little bit flimsy. If you want this to be a fairly sturdy notebook cover, then you will need to add some interfacing, which is what I did. So I am using a medium weight interfacing, which is fusible. I just go ahead and cut it down to the size of my piece without the seam allowances. This is just gonna help to keep it out of the seam allowance. And then I just went ahead and ironed it with a hot dry iron onto the back, centered. And I did that with all of my pieces. That's just gonna give it some really good strength. You can even bring up it to a heavier weight. It just depends on how much protection you want with your book cover, but I think that the medium weight interfacing worked out really well. So technically when you fold this piece in half, it's gonna have 2 layers of interfacing. Okay, so let's start constructing our notebook cover. Okay, so I went ahead and heated up my iron, and we're going to work on the little slip pockets and then the front slip pocket where it had the stationery. So for this one, I'm going to fold in half, and because my fabric is directional, this is going to be the front of my pocket. And then for these two, we're going to fold them like that. And like this. Now, if you can envision, this is how they're going to be with the folds right here. So I'm going to go ahead and press these really quick. Okay, so now we're just gonna go ahead and do a top stitch along the folded edge for all 3 pieces, and that's just gonna make it look more professional, look a little bit, you know, decorative. Okay, so first I'm just going to turn up my stitch length to a 3. I like to bring up my stitch length when I'm doing a top stitching. But with that being said, if you wanted to have fun, on your Janome machines, you will have lots of fun different decorative stitches, so you can really personalize this with some words or some shapes or little cars or something. And then you can use some decorative thread, so you can really have fun with this. But today I'm just going to do just a standard top stitching right onto the fold of my fabric. I'm just going to press my scissor cut button, and then we're just going to keep going. And I'm just doing it about 1 to 2 millimeters away from the folded edge. And that is how it's going to look. Okay, so everything is top stitched, so now we can start building the exterior part of the cover. So I'm going to be using these 2 fabrics. This is the part that's going to go behind the pocket, and this is going to wrap around the front to the back. So this part is going to go to the back. I am going to take that front slip pocket, and we are going to place that on top, lining up the 3 sides. And if you want to go ahead and baste this into place just to make sure that it doesn't move, and basting would just be doing a very close to the edge stitch on all 3 sides. But if not, we're just going to go ahead and move on. So now that we have our pocket in place, we're going to take this piece and we're going to place this on top. And we're just going to go ahead and do a seam down this one side, and that's going to complete our large front cover of our book cover. Okay, so we are going to be using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And back stitch. And we're going to make sure that we go through that pocket. Just like that. Okay, from here we're going to open it up, and I'm going to give it another good press. And I'm going to push the seam allowance towards this part of the book. And we will make that look nice and flat. And we're gonna do a top stitch along this edge on this fabric. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and decide what our slip pockets are going to be. If you want it to be large enough for pens and pencils, then I'm just gonna do 1 inch from this seam. If you want it to be a little larger, maybe you have markers, or if you want to do a whole row of highlighters or something, I would just kind of troubleshoot and figure out what pocket would fit nicely for your stationery. So I'm doing 2 pockets, one for a pen, one for a pencil, and then we'll have a large one here. Again, that'll be perfect for my calculator. So I'm just going to be using a friction pen. This one will disappear when heat is applied. So I'm just going to draw a line. And you'll be able to see that really clearly. And I'm going to do one more for another pen. And then the remaining space will be for my calculator. So if you, again, wanted to do that base stitch, and then you can test it out. So do like 1/4 of an inch, put in your stationery just to see. You can do that before you actually do the final assembly of this book cover. Okay, let's do that top stitch first. And that's going through that seam allowance to keep it nice and flat. And now we'll go over to the pocket. Now at the top of the pocket, you're going to want to reinforce that. So you're going to use your backup button, go forward, back up, and that's just going to lock those stitches, make sure it is nice and secure. And then we'll sew all the way down to the bottom. And we'll scissor cut, back up and do the last one. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do the based stitch so that we can give her a little test run. Okay, so I have my stationery. I'm going to go ahead and slip that in. My pen and my calculator. Perfect. I am loving this, and I love the fabrics we chose. So now we're going to take our interior fabric, place that aside for now. We're going to take our little slip pockets, the sleeves, and we're going to place those on either side with the fold with that top stitch on the inside. Just like that. If you want to go ahead and do a base stitch again, just to make sure that nothing shifts, you can do that now. But if not, we're just gonna go ahead and go forward and take our front cover piece and put that on top. Now, if for some reason there's any hanging over, that is okay. We don't need to worry about that, especially since what we're going to do is we're gonna take our book and we're going to place this on top, parted in the middle. Just like that. And we're going to take our pen and we're going to trace around the book. Now, if you don't have the book handy, it's okay. That 1/2 inch seam allowance should work for you just fine. But if you want to get it nice and snug, then you're going to do exactly what I'm doing. just like that. And what I do is I will just sew a little bit on the other side of this line, giving it a little seam allowance, not too much. But as you can see, it is still about a 1/2 inch on either side. The actual cover is a little bit larger, but you can trim that off to make sure that it is exactly even with the interior fabric. So then after that, we're going to be leaving a hole at the bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and mark that with a pen. And that's going to be used to turn our book cover. So that is about a 4-inch gap. You could probably do like a 3-inch gap, but we want to make sure it's in between the pockets, just so that it's easier to top stitch when we go to close that hole up. So I'm going to use pins to make sure that nothing shifts around, and we'll go ahead and sew up the sides. Okay, so we're going to start our little line there. I'm going to center my needle. So I'm going to center the foot with the line, but I'm going to have my needle over like 2 millimeters, maybe 1/4 inch, just a little bit, so that we don't have a hard time getting the book into the sleeve, since this line here is going to be like a perfect snug fit. So we're going to start sewing. Now this book does have rounded corners, but I'm just going to make them a sharp corner. You have a pin there. Okay, so now we're just going to take our pins out. And grab some good sharp scissors, and we're going to go ahead and snip the corners to reduce the bulk. And don't snip those stitches, and you can reduce the seam allowance as well. I just wouldn't reduce the seam allowance where that top stitching is going to go at the end. So anywhere else it's too much, you can kind of take it down. It's a lot of fabric in some areas. And you can also use pinking shears if you're worried about the fabric, if it's a woven. Okay, so now we're just going to use that hole, and we're going to flip it right sides out. I'm just going to go ahead and use a chopstick to help to poke out my corners. Okay, so if it looks like this, it looks kind of weird. That is okay. That pocket just got flipped over the front, and we're going to go ahead and put that back where it's supposed to be, just like that. So now we're going to quickly give it a little test run just to make sure that it fits. So I'm going to slide in the one, and then you might need to just kind of bring it back and slide it in just like that. fold it over, and look at that. That worked out just great. I'm going to use my heat, and that's going to make those lines from my friction pen disappear. So now all I need to do is remove my book. And we're just going to press the raw edges of that hole inward. And you can use, and you can do a ladder stitch or invisible stitch to close this up, or you can just do with matching thread a quick little top stitch right there. And then that's it. Then you have your book cover. Just give it a good press on all corners. Okay, and we're done. I absolutely love this book cover. I think it just adds so much personality and whimsy to my other than kind of mediocre, boring composition of book. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment down below if you have any questions. And again, don't forget to go over to the Janome Canada website to check out all of our other fun projects that we have. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye guys!